Welcome back to another episode of Inherently Lazy. I'm your host, Austin Killian. I'm super excited to get to this episode today. I wanted to talk about a couple of the things that I was able to accomplish this last week and how those went. I wanted to talk about kind of the topic today about brainstorming and just kind of look to the future. And I think it's going to be a good episode. I'm excited for the topic, and I think it's going to be really good and helpful for those that are looking for a good starting point in their projects. But first, let's talk about the week. I hope you guys all had a fantastic week. I think that I did. It was a very productive week, and I'm super excited. One of the things that I'm kind of excited about, I guess there's some kind of gene. I don't really know everything about it. My mom knows a lot about it, but there's some kind of gene that I guess I'm missing. It's like a B12 thing or so. I have no idea, but something that I could take to help out with that and to like make up for what that gene is supposed to produce or whatever it is like L-methylfolate or something like that. So I just got that in the mail, and I took a dose, I guess, I don't know, like 2.5 milligrams yesterday, and I'm just going to kind of take that every other day and start myself off and start getting my body used to it. But it's supposed to help with my energy levels and depression and anxiety, and hopefully help with my focus as well. I don't know if it's actually going to do all those things, but I think that it's going to be very helpful with projects and just keeping my energy levels up, because that's something that I struggle with, is anxiety and depression, and definitely gets in the way of my productivity when I'm just too tired or too lazy, inherently lazy, obviously, to just get started on a project or to really get in the thick of it. So, and things get super overwhelming too when I'm feeling that way. So hopefully this will help with that. I think that it will, and I'm excited to see how that goes. I probably won't see like really good results from it until like a month or so from now, or maybe 2 to 3 months. I'm going to give it like a 3-month shot. I started taking it like a long time ago, back in like 2012, but I didn't feel like it was doing anything for me or something, or it was giving me too much anxiety, or I can't remember. But I started at a really high dose back then, and I just kind of stopped taking it. So hopefully this time will be a different story, and it'll help out with things. And I don't know, there might be a placebo effect going on right now. I feel like I've just been kind of like on the up and up in a way. That could be just because I'm actually accomplishing things and I'm just happy about that. Or maybe it is the L-methylfolate. I have no idea, but I'm going to take another one tomorrow, and I'll probably have more to report on that in the future. But let's talk about the goals that I was wanting to accomplish this last week. Let's do the report. So I wanted to stream on Tuesday and Thursday, Twitch streaming. I just played Stardew Valley, and I accomplished those. I accomplished that goal. I was hoping for some bigger growth, but we didn't quite get the growth that I was hoping for, but it doesn't matter because the growth that I did see was still fantastic. So my average comments, or how many comments that were made, went up by 33%, and then also average viewership went up by 33%. So that was pretty freaking awesome. No, not average viewership. It was average viewership. So that was awesome. That was really good to see that growth. I was hoping for more followers, didn't get any, but it doesn't matter. As long as who cares? Who cares how many people are following you as long as you're getting the average viewership? You know what I mean? If I'm still getting people watching, do I need them to follow me technically? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, it's better to know that there's people that are probably going to come back each time that I stream, but hey, if I'm getting a higher average viewership, then so be it. I'm A-okay with that. So I was able to do that. They were really fun streams as well. I had a really good time, and I hope that next week's streams will be just as fantastic as those ones were. A lot of good comments too. A lot of good conversation, I thought. And I guess along with that, I was able to figure out this cool thing where I use Restream.io for the streaming, and it allows me to be able to stream my gameplay my stream onto both YouTube and Twitch at the same time. And I found this cool, that was kind of suggested by the people that were commenting. I found this cool, what's it called? I don't know, like plugin or something like that that allowed me to show everyone's comments across both platforms, YouTube and Twitch, so that they could all see each other's comments. And so that way they were able to converse with each other, and that was super cool. So I think that's going to help with community growth for sure. So I'm super excited about that. I worked on the About page for the Killian Corn site that I'm hoping to wow my family members with. And I was able to do that. I still have some tweaks that I think I'll want to make to it, but as far as basic template goes, that's all done. There's definitely going to be... I broke off my components in a weird way, and I think I'm going to restructure that because why not? I might as well do it now because it's still early on, I think, in the process. So I'm excited about that. But the About page, I mean, it's supposed to be super simple. It wasn't supposed to be super crazy. So I was able to get that done in a pretty good time frame, and it worked out fantastically, I think. I think it looks good. And then I wanted to post. So this was like the topic that I talked about last week. Was about spreading, I don't know, the word, or like using social media to talk about your projects and to just gain kind of not necessarily following, but just like a community and to really grow that. Now, I mean, it's kind of weird and tricky for me because I do the streaming and the gaming stuff on @FinleyGhost on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. And then for Cherry Nuke, for Inherently Lazy right now, I have like those two Instagram and Twitters @CherryNukeProd. And then I have my own personal, which is @AustinLKillian on Twitter and Instagram. And with all three of those, I was trying to figure out that balance of like, okay, how do I, like what kind of post should I make on here? And I talked about the 3 different posts, the day in the life post, the ad post, and then the mixture between kind of talking about your projects and the day in the life in a way. And I was trying to disperse them evenly between all 3, and it got really hard. I was able to post like 3 posts, whether it was on an Instagram story or it was actual posts on Instagram or Twitter, something like that. I was able to post 3 kind of posts a day across all 3. Not as in like 3 on each platform, or on each profile, my personal, the gaming one, or Finley Ghost rather, and Cherry Nuke. But like, I at least posted 3, like maybe 1 was on my personal and 2 was on Cherry Nuke, or maybe all 3 were on Finley Ghost. I don't know, but I was able to get 3 in a day, which is super good. And the huge goal that I had, that I feel is huge, was to get past my apprehension of posting about my own, projects that I'm working on my own personal profile on Instagram. That was something really nerve-wracking to me, and I don't know, like, there's just like this weird self-conscious thing that I have about it, and I was able to get past it, and I'm still a little uncomfortable about it, but it was very positive. I made this Instagram post, I want to share something. It's this project that I'm working on. I'm really excited about it, which is Inherently Lazy. I was talking about this show, and people actually DM'd me, friends and some random people even DM'd me and just said that they were excited to see what was coming up, and that they listened to the podcast, they listened to the show, and they thought it was very good, and they encouraged me to keep doing it. No one really commented and said, like, oh, like, why did you post this? This is so weird, or anything discouraging. So that was super awesome and super positive, and I'm really excited about that. And man, yeah, that was super awesome. So I think, yeah, those were my those were my goals, and I accomplished them all. And I'm definitely gonna accomplish all the goals that I set for next week. Heck yeah. Oh, one more thing that I wanted to talk about this past week, which it's not a goal or anything like that, but it was just something fun that I did. And we just did it today, actually, the day that I'm recording this podcast, which is October 11th. So the Friday of 2019. We did for work, we did the Pinewood Derby, and that was a lot of fun. I haven't done a Pinewood Derby since I was like, I don't know, what's it called? Or what was the age? Probably like 10 or maybe 9 or something like that. And if you don't know what a Pinewood Derby is, it's kind of like a scouts thing mainly. But what you do is you get like these little like rectangular wooden blocks, and it comes with 4 wheels and 4, tiny little nails. And you carve your block of wood into some kind of car, and you can shape it however you want. Like our lead dev, or senior dev, he did like a fire truck. Someone else did the freaking, oh shoot, I don't even know what the name of the van is, but it's like the Mutts, like something like the dog grooming mutt van from Dumb and Dumber. Holy smokes, that looked fantastic. And someone else did, one of the design ladies, she did this huge, like not huge, but this octopus that was holding a taco. Because I guess in Japanese, you spell octopus T-A-K-O. Well, you don't spell octopus, but the word for octopus, I don't know how to say it in Japanese, but it's spelled T-A-K-O, I guess. So it was a taco holding a taco. So that was really cool. And it was an awesome looking one. So those 2 were freaking fantastic. But I spent like an hour or so cutting my Pinewood Derby cart in half. I was just going to try to make it not as thin as possible, but thin. So I basically cut the whole thing in half, and vertically or horizontally. I don't know which way, and I was going to do more, but I was so tired from cutting it in half that I just said F it, and I just put the wheels on at work, and then I drew a Sharpie all over it and made it look like oil spills. I don't know why. It was supposed to be called the Slime Machine, and I was going to paint it green and stuff, but it was too much work for the little span of time that I had. And so I drew little oil spills with my Sharpie on there, and I called the cart Oil Spill. And I had a stupid political agenda to raise awareness for oceans, but not to clean up oil spills, but rather to produce oil spills, because I don't think enough people know about the oceans, right? No one talks about oceans. We just learn it in school for a second, but no one reports on, holy crap, look at this ocean. No, that never happens. The only time we ever get coverage on oceans is when there's oil spills. So I call the oil spill to raise awareness that we should be putting more oil spills in there so that we can get more coverage on oceans, because they don't get enough cred. Clearly that's a joke, just in case anyone's offended out there. Anyway, so that was just a fun thing that we did. I ended up coming in second for the first 2 rounds, and then so I was making it pretty good. I thought my cart was gonna really suck, but it ended up actually doing pretty decent. And then on the 3rd round, I made it. I got 3rd place, so I wasn't able to qualify for the next round, or the final round, which sucks. I was almost there. So close. I came in 5th overall, pretty much. Oh, well, whatever. Life goes on. But it was a really good time, and I really enjoyed it, and we had some good snacks, and it was just a good way to break up the day for sure. And we kind of do some annual things like that all year round, so it's always fun to do. It's always fun to break up the regular work week and just take some time to do something stupid and fun. So, with all of that said, let's go ahead and go into the topic. Now, I wanted to talk about notebooks and just kind of the value of just getting a good notebook and getting a pencil and just writing ideas down and all that stuff. But I felt like that would take like 2 seconds to talk about. So I kind of lumped in another subject, which is brainstorming, into this as well. But the main topic is the beauty of notebooks and the beauty of brainstorming. Okay. And this is primarily to help you with your projects, to help you figure out ideas and to just put them down and get started. Excuse me. So let's go ahead and start with that. With brainstorming, I think that a lot of the time, and this has happened to me a lot until recently, that you have a ton of ideas, or you have one idea with a ton of, sub ideas within that idea. And you just kind of get overwhelmed with all of the thoughts that are going on in your head. And you have a hard time figuring out where you should start, right? Maybe as an example, right? Actually, this is a perfect example. Before I was going to be doing some kind of podcast, I had 5 different ideas for podcasts, right? And I still want to do probably all of them at some point, but I had like 5 different ideas, and every single one of them I liked the same. So it's like, shoot. And then also not only that, podcasts, but like comics. And I had all these ideas for podcast comics, for a TV series that maybe I could have just written out and tried to pitch to a studio, and some different gaming things, some sketch videos and all that stuff. And I just had no idea where to start. Right? So what the heck do you do? Which one should you start with? And after, 3 months of just on and off, thinking about it and then getting overwhelmed with all the ideas that I had, I'm just like, you know what? I need to write this crap down in a notebook. So I started doing like a little brainstorm bubble, a little bubble sheet or whatever you call those. And I wrote like 5 different bubbles down. One was podcasts. One bubble was a TV series ideas. One was YouTube show ideas, and then another one, was something else, and one was something else. And then I just kind of from like podcasts, then I added in other bubbles of all of my podcasts that were surrounded, like all of my podcast ideas, and that surrounded the primary podcast bubble. And then from there, I wrote little bubbles to each podcast idea, and just kind of went on from there and just kind of expanded it and kept going. And I just fleshed out all of these bubbles, and I got them all out there, and I just looked at all of them. And I started just kind of by process of elimination, just like, you know what, this one would be more fun with a partner. I don't think I'll be able to do it with a partner. So let's just cut this one out for now. And maybe in the future, I'll get to it. And then this one's going to take a lot of work. I don't know if I have the attention span right now to just put in a ton of time into this one. So let's just cut this one out. And eventually I landed on this show, Inherently Lazy, because I knew that it wasn't going to be a ton of work. I could just come in, write, some quick notes on my phone. I could come in and start talking and just get it out there and hopefully build some kind of awesome collaborative community where we can all help each other. And the idea of that was just like, this will totally help me with my future ideas and projects. So yeah, let's just go ahead and start with this one. So yeah, by process of elimination, I got to this idea, and it all started with my bubble brainstorm on my notebook. And that's just the way that I have found that is it's a good way to start. When you have no idea where you should start, just start brainstorming. Just put it down on paper and visualize it. And I think a lot of people overlook that step. They try to think about it and just try to figure out exactly how they should do it in their mind, and then they forget things, and they're not paying attention sometimes, and they just totally they lose some of the ideas over time, and they don't realize that they even had it in the first place, and maybe they think of it later, and it's just caused all of this disorganization and dysfunction, and it's not good, right? So visualizing it, putting it on a piece of paper in a bubble format, for me anyway, is just a great way to keep it all in there so that you can really look at it, and by process of elimination, based off of your own choice, instead of just accidentally forgetting about it, you choose the one that's the best fit for you and you get going. Now from there, you have an idea. That's fantastic. You know what project you're going to do. But from there, it's like, well, what should this project be like? Right? So that was the next step for Inherently Lazy. It's just like, but what do I want the show to be? What do I want to accomplish? What's the goal here? Am I just trying to get views and hopefully get famous one day, or am I actually trying to accomplish or something? So that was the next step. I started another brainstorm or bubble brainstorm, and I wrote that down. So I wrote down Inherently Lazy right in the middle, and then just started writing down a ton of different directions that this podcast could go. And just wrote everything down that was in my head. It didn't matter. Like you don't have to sit there and think of the perfect idea or the perfect, subcategory or something like that. You just gotta, whatever pops in your head, just put it in there, because then you have all your thoughts laid out right in front of you that you can read. And that's what I love about the bubble brainstorm, was method. It's so visual, and I need that. Otherwise, I'm going to lose it. You know what I mean? So if you're like me, I would suggest doing that. And from there, I kind of circled or starred the things that I liked and how I wanted the show to go. And I landed on what I have right now, and it'll probably evolve over, in the future. But I landed on what I have right now. And I think it's a good format, and it'll probably evolve and become better for it. But I think this is exactly what I wanted it to be, and it's super positive and super exciting and super collaborative, and that's exactly what I wanted, and it's supposed to help, and that's the whole point of the show. And I talked about this ad nauseum for sure, so I don't need to really go into it anymore. But that's just so with the idea of the brainstorming and pairing it with the notebook. I think it is so valuable when you're trying to get going on a project and you just don't know where to start. Just get it all out there, and by process of elimination, get down to your good, great, whatever, best idea, and our not only best idea, but your most what's the word? Your most accessible idea of what you could, or attainable idea that you can actually accomplish what you set out to accomplish. Okay, so that was a huge part of it that I wanted to talk about. Also, for notebooks, if you're thinking of ideas for notebooks, there's a couple of ideas that I have for you. Okay, now I don't know exactly what the brand is that I use, but there's a notebook that I have, and it's like a bullet notebook. Okay, so there's two different types of notebooks. Obviously, you can go in the super cheap route, which I do a lot of the time. And those are just composition notebooks, anything that you would normally get, for like school back in the day. Just some crappy composition notebook. It's like $1 or $2, and it is totally the bee's knees. And just, I don't know, like it provides just a good starting point, so where you could just get all your ideas on there for super cheap. I would totally suggest that for sure. I think it's great. And you guys should definitely do that. If you want to go in a more expensive route, there's a notebook that I got, and it's called a bullet notebook. And I just found it on my desk. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the brand is Lemome, Lemome, Lemome. And it's these bullet notebooks where it's not just the straight across lines that you normally get in a composition notebook, but it's kind of in a bullet like dot format. Like the game that you might have, just played if you were bored in school or church or whatever, where you just draw like a grid of, 9x9 dots, and you and your friends, take turns just putting in a line, and then you try to just, once you create a square, then you're able to write your first initial in it or something, and whoever has the most squares at the end wins. That's kind of how it's formatted. It's in a gridded, dotted format. And it's really good for you kind of create your own lines in a way to where you could just kind of make your own spacing of how you want to put your letters and all that stuff. You can write as big, as small as you want. You don't even have to use the dots. They're pretty freaking lightly drawn. Like the opacity is pretty big or small, like 50% or whatever. So the dots aren't like incredibly noticeable. You can draw shapes. It helps you with measuring things out, making sure that everything's even in a gridded format. Super cool. And this brand comes with like rulers and stuff and some stickers, and it has bookmarks. And not only that, every single page is numbered. And at the very front of the notebook, you can write down which page one of your ideas is on, so that you just know exactly what page it is at, and you can go right to it and get started. Super organized, super great for people who are disorganized and just need that extra organization for them that they don't have to try to figure out on their own. So if you want to, spring for a higher end notebook, I guess, Lemome bullet notebooks, search that and get it. And it's, I think it's like $8 or something like that. Super helpful, super useful, and I would totally, and it even comes with a pen, so it's just like, I don't know, why not? You know what I mean? Anyway, so that's a good notebook brand. Either that or composition notebooks. In my opinion, you got to do one or the other, right? You got to, I firmly believe in having a notebook, because there's been plenty of times where I'm just like, I'm struggling for ideas. And then I go back to an old notebook and I see something that I wrote a long time ago. And I'm like, holy crap, that was a really good idea. And I think, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start doing this. And I start developing that idea, and it could totally lead to something beautiful in the future. So yeah, write your ideas down so that you can come back to them and you don't lose some of your best ideas. Let's see here. Let me look over my notes and see what else I wanted to talk about. Oh, I suggest getting a notebook for each project too. If like, you should have a notebook for all of your brainstorming on just general things, but once you have an idea picked out, you should get a composition notebook or something for that project specifically. That way it's not lost in a sea of other ideas and stuff. It's dedicated to that project and dedicated to dedicated to that project and keeping it organized and making sure that it's not getting lost in the shuffle. So I would definitely suggest doing that. Now, I kind of wanted to talk about also some brainstorming techniques or methods. There's different ways that you can go about it. For me, I love the bubble brainstorm, right? I start with that. I get all of my ideas out there, and I just am able to visualize that and make sure that I know which ones I like, which ones I kind of want to put on the shelf for now, and maybe I'll come back to it later type of thing. Like I'll star them or something like that. Then from there, like once I got all of that, maybe I'll write down some notes on the specific things, right? And this is kind of like if I'm trying to structure an episode out, right? I'll look up the different things that I need to look up for it to make sure I got my facts and all that stuff. And then I'll write it down just all over the page, kind of like a brainstorm bubble, but not necessarily. I'm just writing down notes just all over and making sure that I get all of the facts that I need that follow my thoughts and all that stuff. And I could just turn to look at it and make sure that I know what it is and not be caught with my pants down. You know what I mean? And then from there, to structure out episodes, I either write it down in a bullet list or I write it down in a flowchart. And I think it's not a crazy flowchart, but it's a pretty simple flowchart where I write the idea down in kind of above, or like the first sentence or topic or whatever, I don't know, subject matter that I wanted to talk about for a second. And then I write down another bubble right next to it that goes to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, and have an arrow that goes through, and it just kind of follows along down the page into a flow chart. That way I have it in this little bubble, I talk about it, and then I mark it off and move on to the next one, so that if I'm talking into the mic and then I look back down in the notes, then I know where I left off. Now, for this particular episode, I decided to do it in a bullet list, and it's on my phone, and so it's a little bit harder to just cross things off, but I think I'm doing an okay job at sticking to some kind of format. You can let me know if I'm doing a horrible job, of course, though. And so those are kind of my preferred methods of just kind of getting your ideas out there and getting going on your project and writing it down on a notebook, and different brainstorming, or ways to format your brainstorming on the page. Bullet lists are very, very, very useful, and bubble brainstorms are the most useful to me to visualize. Now, I already kind of touched upon this a little bit earlier, but when you're brainstorming and when you're coming up with ideas, do not get stuck on making sure that the idea is perfectly constructed. Okay? We're going for quantity over quality here. You don't need to get the perfectly written idea out there. You just write it down. It pops in your head and boom, it's on the page. And just rinse and repeat. Keep going. When those ideas pop in, you just put it down on the page. Man, it is so easy to get caught up in just making sure that you're not putting in the extra fluff in there. But it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because even if it seems like a stupid idea, but you put it on the page anyway, there's a possibility that you might look at it later and then associate it with another idea and be like, oh, well, shoot, well, those two things combined, now all of a sudden, it's a great idea. So just quantity over quality, get it down on the page, and make sure that you don't lose any of your ideas. Hold on a second. I need to take a drink of water. Oh, yeah. Good water. Okay, now I think those are pretty much most of the things that I wanted to talk about. There is an article that I found online that is useful for when you're kind of stuck in a jam and you need to come up with a bunch of ideas and you just don't know which direction to take it and you're just kind of stuck. There's an article that I will include in the show notes that help with that, and to just kind of provide a fresh perspective that you might have been missing before that has gotten you stuck in your little jam, if you will. And I'll include in there. One of the great things that I found in that article, though, is this idea. Well, number one, if you do get stuck, I think it's always a great idea to just take a walk, get a breath of fresh air. You don't necessarily need to take a walk, but you just need to take a break from what you're doing. Stop thinking of ideas and just go do something else, because with your brain just chilling, it'll subconsciously work on it for you, and you won't have to think about it, but it's just kind of working on making the connections for you over time. And hey, never underestimate a good night's rest too. If you're hitting the midnight oil, if that's the proper phrase, I don't even know, or burning the midnight oil and you're just stuck, go ahead and just go to bed. And when you wake up, I bet you'll have just a fantastic idea waiting for you. And if not, whatever. You know what I mean? You got more sleep and it'll help you. So there's nothing wrong with that. No big deal. No shame in just taking a break for a little bit. But one of the great ideas also on that, another great idea on that article was consuming media that you don't normally consume. And what I mean by that is, maybe I literally just watch gaming. This isn't true, actually, but maybe I just watch gaming videos all day long, and that's it. And then I go down to write an idea for a project, and I have no effing idea. I have no idea what to write down because I've consumed that one kind of, medium all the time. That's it. That's literally all I do is consume gaming content. And if you're trying to write down an idea, maybe you should consume other forms of media that you don't normally watch or listen to or read, right? Maybe you don't normally read historical things, but it's like, and I'm going to go ahead and read up on, I don't know, the Civil War, for instance, or I'm going to read up on some weird ghost stories, like some haunted areas or like, I don't know, haunted houses or something like that. I'm going to read up on that. And if you're doing that, then you're able to, I don't know, just kind of have a few new ideas, fresh perspectives that come into your mind that'll definitely help you with the creative process in the future. I think it's super useful to just get that fresh perspective and to totally look at something in a different light than you normally would by consuming that different form of media. So there's that. I will, again, include that link in the show notes so that you can look at it and get an idea of maybe some different techniques that you can use if you are getting stuck. But that is the end of that topic. I don't know if I have much more to say on that. I feel like I've repeated a few things about 5 different times. Again, it's been a while since I've done a podcast, so hopefully in the future I'll be able to consolidate things a little bit better and realize before I even say something that I don't need to say it again. Oh, all right. So with the end of the episode nearing, I did reach out and hoping to get some advice or some submissions, I guess, for some techniques that other people use when they're brainstorming, and I think that would have been cool. Didn't get any submissions, didn't get any comments, but that's okay. Hopefully in the future we'll get some more comments so that we can get some more interactivity, and it's not just me coming up with my ideas, because I think it's always good to get different people's perspectives on the issue as well. But in the future, we'll hopefully get some more submissions. And for those of you that are listening, hey, 100% reach out to me, okay? Reach out to me on Instagram and Twitter and Patreon, and leave some kind of comment or whatever. If you have something to say on the show or something that you want to talk about, just go ahead and write a comment, and I will definitely read it. And we could talk about it and discuss it and get a different perspective on things. So with all that said, let's go ahead and let's set our goals for next week. Now, you guys at home, obviously set your own goals, write some stuff down on your composition notebooks if you buy them, and figure out what kind of stuff that you want to accomplish in the next week. My goals, I'm going to do 2 more streams, Tuesday and Thursday, obviously. That's going to be a weekly thing. I don't know exactly when I'm going to play, but again, I will be streaming on twitch.tv/FinleyGhost or youtube.com/FinleyGhost at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And we will be playing maybe a shooter. I don't even know, but I want to play something a little different from Stardew Valley. I think I'm getting into some kind of competitive mode in my brain right now. So I want to do something like that maybe in the next stream. So I want to do those 2 streams. For the Killian Core website, I want to complete the 404 page and the privacy policy page. That is not going to take a ton of time, but it's going to be my anniversary, 4 years married with my wife, and it'll be my anniversary next weekend, so I want to make sure that I'm able to accomplish my goal and not put too much on me while I'm trying to plan for that. So those 2 pages are going to be super simple, and it'll be nice to knock down, 2 whole pages, even if they're not really large. It'll just be nice to get them knocked off of the list of tasks that I need to complete before the site could potentially be launched. So there's that. I want to continue doing my 3 posts a day on Instagram and Twitter, and continue posting on my personal account about stuff, whatever it is, whether it's my project or just fun little musings. And I have been doing good so far in the last week, which is the best I've ever done. And I just need to stick to it, and I'm really excited about that. There's not going to be any new goals compared to what I've done in the past this week, but I think these are still good goals to keep, and I should probably build some kind of habit with these goals. And I don't know. We'll see how that goes, and hopefully just refine the way that I do it. So, because I feel like on my own personal Instagram, I got a little, not necessarily, not preachy, that's not the right word, but I don't know. I just I felt like I was too much in advertising mode in a way. So hopefully this week I could do better about that and just do more day in the life stuff, because my personal Instagram shouldn't be about advertising. It should be, I'll talk about it every once in a while, but I shouldn't be just advertising the show. And I did something stupid, I think, on my Instagram story. I didn't think too much of it at the time, but I wanted to get some interactivity on this particular episode. And I reached out and said that if you have any brainstorming ideas, go ahead and go to the Patreon thread that I put on there. And I feel like that was stupid. It probably made me look like I was just reaching out and just trying to get a handout. Well, not a handout necessarily, because it's not really a handout, but I don't know. It just seemed ingenuine when I was doing it, and I feel like I shouldn't have done it. So I'm going to try to stay away from that. Like, if I do want to get some ideas or whatever on a podcast episode, I'll just have them DM me or leave a comment on the post or something like that. I don't know why I put out a link and was trying to shuffle everyone over to Patreon. Plus, they might have thought that I was trying to get money out of them. So, anyway, that was just a weird thing that I don't want to do in the future, and I'll just try to keep my personal Instagram, positively talking about the experiences that I'm having doing the show, but not necessarily about the show and trying to get people to go watch it and stuff like that. So anyway, that's that. Again, you guys need to make your own goals. Get it done. Get stuff done, man. And accomplish these things. Set your goals. Please write into me. Tell me about your goals. Tell me about the things that you're trying to accomplish, and let me know if you actually are accomplishing them. Because I think if we get more submissions and people talking about the things that they're accomplishing, even if it's not necessarily creative, but just accomplishing things, then it'll kind of be a booster for other people, trying to kick them in gear who may be struggling, and they'll listen to the show and be like, oh yeah, I should definitely, if that guy could do the goal, if all these people are accomplishing their goals, I need to accomplish my goal. So I think we can really help each other out and strengthen each other and bolster each other up for sure. So if you guys have any goals, if you guys have accomplished goals, go ahead and write in. Maybe you need an extra kick in the pants, and you just write in and say, hey, kick me in gear, kick me into gear and make sure that I get my goals done. And I'll totally do that for you 100%. Just write into the show. You can write in, you could DM me on Instagram, on my personal Instagram. Well, actually, no, probably not the personal Instagram, but you could go over to @CherryNukeProd, follow me, DM me, and I will make sure to include. Just let me know that you want to include it in the next episode, and I will include it in the next episode and talk about it. An alternative way to reach out to me and talk about, your projects and all that stuff, or if you have advice or whatever for the show, you can reach me at patreon.com/Cherrynuke. You do not have to support me on there, but you can DM me on there. If you follow me on there, you can DM me, and I'll probably post a thread about episode 4 next week and what the subject is, and having you guys reach out to me and all that stuff to put in your submissions there. So that's definitely the easiest way to do it, because everything's just collected in the one thread. And so you could just leave a comment on that. So that's super helpful. But if not, go ahead and DM me on @CherryNukeProd on Twitter and Instagram if you want. Let's talk about some of the projects that I'm working on. Again, I'm doing Killian Core. You don't need to worry about that right now. That'll go up at some point. I'll definitely pimp that out later. But again, if you want to watch the stream, that's @FinleyGhost. Or you can figure out news about it on @FinleyGhost on Twitter and Instagram, and then you can watch the streams on twitch.tv/FinleyGhost or youtube.com/FinleyGhost on Tuesday and Thursday, 8:30 Mountain Time. We'll play some video games and chat and chill and have a good time. We have a cool little community there, and I think you can have a lot of fun talking to everybody over there. And then this show is going to go up again if you support me on Patreon, which no one does, but at some point hopefully they do. That'll be super cool. If you support me on Patreon, you can get the show 3 days early. I record it on Fridays and put it up Friday night. If you just want to listen to it for free, which is 100% okay, you guys can listen to it on iTunes and Spotify and all the other stuff on Mondays at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And have a good time listening to it at that time. Again, if you want to support me on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/CherryNuke. And at the $1 level, you get access to just news posts and fun little musings posts and all that stuff. If you support me at the $2 level, you can get access to or early dibs on episode submissions and questions and stuff like that. Or if I put up a poll about topics that maybe you guys would want me to talk about, you guys can vote on what topic you want me to talk about next and stuff like that. That's at the $2 level. And also you get access to the $1 level as well, or the perks there. And then the $5 level, you get every episode of anything that I do 3 days early. So the day, literally like the night that I record it, you'll get it that night. And yeah, so usually about 3 days early and stuff like that. So anyway, that's all the stuff. I'm done pimping it out. I guess I should, I've already talked about it enough. You guys know how to reach me on Instagram at AustinLKillian. And that's it. So again, get your stuff done, get your projects done. And I will see you in the next live. Just kidding, in next week on episode 4. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.